That sounds promising. Okay, guys. Well, plan is to get through the end of chapter 11 today. So that was a bit of a grab bag in Never. There were question words in there. We had the general question marker ine last time, or simply in, I mean, JN, the way it's transcribed or transliterated. And there was one more left, namely the rhetorical questions. So questions where you already think you know the answer when you're asking it, and you're really asking them more to make a point than to get new information. Also, there are question words like who, where, when, and the like. So I expanded those a bit from the book because he didn't really give any examples. And finally, there was one more topic in there, converters. I'm going to keep that really brief to a one slide because you could talk about those for hours, and it's going to come up later in the book. So I thought I'd just do an overview on those. So 3 quick topics. Let's dive right in. And the first one would be the rhetorical questions. So there are 2 particles for that. One is, and one is ist or iste, still lives on in Coptic. They're both still around. The is you normally find with ben, not the negation marker that we had a couple of sessions back. And here are a few examples. Is ben anak taimut? Am I not your mother? So yeah, obviously the answer to this one, the expected answer is, well, of course you are. So is it that not? I am your mother. Am I not your mother? Or simply, is Ben, isn't it? As simple as that. You don't have to say anything else, just is Ben, isn't it? It's not the only way to ask those questions. I gave one more example here, which is Ben anak sechimit. Am I not a woman, basically? So it's a nominal sentence. Anak sechime would be I'm a woman, or I guess I'm a woman. There is no wa in there, interestingly enough. It's not anak wa sechime, but simply anak sechime. But then if you put the ben in front of it, it becomes I'm not. And then if you say it in the right intonation, presumably, like all other languages, we don't know this, but it would make sense. If you add like a questioning intonation, it can become a question as well. So this is not the only way of doing it, but it's a fairly common way. I've seen it quite a bit. Okay, the other option is iste, or the way it's spelled, yistu. Is there possibly, like, could it be that something is that way? And so I have a couple of examples here. I think I took them from Never, at least the first one. Actually, the first one I think is from The Blinding of Truth. The second one is from, well, obviously, anybody who's done the Horus and Seth will recognize this is from Horus and Seth. Anybody want to take these and take a crack at it?
Shall I go?
Okay, thanks, Chris.
All right, so we have iste e eret. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, well, up top, got it. So we have iste when ka mi ea pa ika. Or I guess, yeah, pa ika.
And any guess as to the meaning or translation?
Yes. So we have when there is, so this is one of those markers, a bull, like, let's see, my bull. So we have ma'i. So ma'i, yeah, this would be like, or as great. So, okay, so is there not a bull like my bull? Let's see here.
Really close. Just there is not is the first one. Is ben is not. Is just is there. Like
oh, sorry, is there.
So not in there.
Got it. So is there a bull like my great bull?
Yep, almost. This is a peculiar construction. Me are like the great, so to say, or in English we would say as great as. or as big as, or something like that. So this is constructed differently in late Egyptian than in English.
Like a comparison or something. Okay.
Exactly, it's like a comparison. So in English we would say as big as.
As big as, oh, as great as big as my bull.
That's right. You got it.
So is there a bull as great or as big as my bull?
Exactly. And the story in it's sort of like a court case, of course, between mythological beings, and the point he's trying to make here, basically, well, he's trying to prove somebody else wrong, and the whole thing hinges on indeed a bull having been stolen, and there not being one as great as the one that he had given this person to safeguard, or to keep an eye on. And instead, so yeah, is there possibly a bull as great as my bull? And the answer, of course, is no, there isn't. And why that's important? Well, if you read the story, you'll find out. So yeah, perfect. We had that construction once before in one of the example sentences. Mi pa something as great as my so and so. Seems to be a fixed expression. Tripped me up the first time I saw it too. Very good. How about the second one? Anybody want to take that one?
Well, since we're doing horse, oh, somebody else is going. I was going to say, since we're doing horse and set, I would jump right into that one. But if anybody else is going to go.
Iset I iret di ta yaut en pa ajed Yusuter pi f sen a.
Perfect.
Aha. Is it that one will give the office to the youngster, while Seth, his older brother, stands?
Right. Stands like in parentheses right here, or is present or something. But yeah, exactly. Perfect. So yeah, again, the answer of that the speaker, I think it may be said, I forgot. The speaker expects is, of course, no, of course not. I mean, his elder brother is there. Why do we give it to a kid? Yeah. Anything to be said about it grammatically, apart from the istu? Maybe the one thing to point out is that, so that here's a second tense, ere, or irtu, and that's a common combination we found in Horace and Seth, that you have istu plus second tense, very commonly to basically say, is it possibly the case that, it's like a way how to emphasize that, is it possibly the case that one gives the office to the youngster? And there are a few more examples like that. Is it that they're doing wrong here as well? Is it that this and that? Very often is to plus second tense, but officially we didn't have the second tense yet, so let's skip that part. All right, very well done. Thank you, Aaron. That's really all to say about this. So we have all the question markers, major question markers now, namely in or any for general questions, and isben for is it not the case that, and istu possibly with the second tense for is it possibly the case. So that's it for general questions. If it's okay, I'll move on to the next topic, which is other question words like the W words in English. Who, what, where. I don't think I have why in there. Oops, but I have when in there. So yeah, one common one we've already seen is ich, becomes ash in Coptic. It's the same word. The ch very often turns into a sh sound later Egyptian. So ich is just basically the common word for what. Anybody want to take that sentence? All known vocabulary. And the Jeopardy music is on. Dun, 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 dun,
Okay.
Okay, so I just needed a moment to read it. I'm sorry. So it's iri ek ich em ha heru. And I'm just gonna go with what my brain can remember because it's been a while. So What did you do today?
Sweet. Perfect. That's exactly what it is. And I ask myself this sometimes. So yeah, what did you do today? Past tense, Sejam F. Jeez, I wanted to put an N in there. Sejam F. And then yeah, the ich goes where the object normally goes. And empajo or empajero is today. Very well done. All right. So simple as that. So it just takes the shape of whatever word, sorry, the place of whatever word it replaces. No change in sentence structure, unlike in English, where we have to make it what did you do today? No inversion in Egyptian. Another useful thing you can make out of it is mi ich, namely how, literally like what. That can also be used to inquire about somebody, how they're doing, like tuk mich, how are you? Or said to a woman, tu mich. Basically, you like what? In other words, how you doing? Simple as that. Not the only way to say how. Another one I found was ich pas sicher. We had sicher before. It can be manner, it can be state, it can be affair, it can be habit, it can be a lot of things. It can also be plan. But as Nikita pointed out in, I think, the very first session that we had, sicher, I mean, half the time or more than half the time, it's not planned. It's just the way it comes up in Gardner as the first translation for the word. So very often it's like manner or, yeah, manner. So ich pas sicher, literally, what is the way? In other words, or what is the manner? What is the manner, meaning how? Maybe I'll just do this one. Ich pas sicher en shemet irek erpech nasut ayet or ayut or something like that. So that's a bit more convoluted than in English. It's an actual sentence. Basically, it says, what is the manner of the going, sheme, or later in Coptic becomes she, of the going irek that you have done. So basically, I'm not sure why it doesn't put pak sheme, like you're going. Instead, why we do this complicated thing where you basically say sheme irek, the going that you did, but that's the way it is. So what is the manner of the going that you did? Pech, to get to or to reach. Na sut, the places, so in this case the tombs. Which tombs? The tombs ayut, the great tombs. In other words, how did you get to the great tombs? Or how did you walk to the great tombs, if you like? In any case, so it's just another way how to ask the question how. Any question on any of these? Question words, ironic, I know.
No, they seem to be pretty straightforward, so that's good.
Aren't they, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So
except the ich partial, but that's its own thing.
It is.
Yeah.
There's one more option, namely Johnny Gual has her. So basically her and which we had before as the word and. That's also listed as another way how to say how. Yeah, okay, so there are a few different ways how to say it. I just gave these two. Whoops. All right. This one we had very early on, Nim. I learned from Alan, that that's actually apparently a contraction of that question marker, and then the older word for what, so Nim. This is how it's spelled, or commonly spelled in late Egyptian. There are some variations. It's basically felt to be one word now. Nim meaning who. So nim, in tok nim ter. So who are you? Like, actually, who are you? Who are you really? Something like that. You, who, and then this is some kind of reinforcing particle. Also exists in Middle Egyptian. Alan has this very same sentence as nim ter tu or chu. the Middle Egyptian variant. So different pronoun. The nim is being spelled differently. It's spelled more etymologically than just pronunciation-wise, like in our late Egyptian. But you can see the sort of continuity here. It's even the same little question particle, or not question particle, reinforcing particle in that long chapter about particles in Alan. Okay, so that's that one. Entoknim, who are you? Or reinforced entoknim ter. How about this one? Anybody want to take the next one?
Yeah, go.
Go ahead.
So we have nim, ren, ni, pa, I, ite.
Mhm.
So let's see, father. Oh, I'm sorry. No, name of my father. So I want to say who, but it sounds like what is the name
That's right.
of my father?
That's why I put it. It's a peculiarity that you say in Egyptian, who is your name instead of what is your name. So you have it right. What's the name of my father? In this story, the boy, that's also part of Blinding in Truth, the boy blinding of truth, the boy does not know at this stage who his father is yet. So hence the question.
So question, what, so would saying ich be inappropriate, would work here?
I think they always say Nim. I think.
Okay. Who is the name of that?
It's also still the case in Coptic. In Coptic, you would say Nimpe Pekran. What is your name? Pekran, of course, being your name. In late Egyptian, you'd say that slightly differently. It would be Nimrinek. With name, you still use the suffix pronouns and not the pai, pek, etc. Possessive articles. But it's nim in both cases. I don't think you say ashpe pekran, although I'm not 100% sure. Would have to do a Google search on it. All right, well done. And then we have another one, which is word. Word is how much, how many, how long. One example here is a clip that it's the whole sentence in Neveu, but I just thought I'd cut out some of the complexity. Basically, it says word paho, how much until today, and the sentence goes on since you left Egypt, I think. So that's the whole question. But basically, word is basically how much. Oh, in this case, I think more idiomatic in English. How long? Because obviously it means how much or how many days. So how much until today, from the day since you left Egypt is the whole sentence. Okay. And the next one, yeah, anybody wants to take that one?
I can try.
All right.
So, Suher Iret Ver and Itru Shem was Itru M Shem
That's right.
Risa Kajati.
Kajati, yeah. It's obviously group writing, so probably something like Kajat or Kajat, who knows. Canaanite words still had their T at the end, apparently, during that time, which nowadays has fallen out in Hebrew or in Arabic. So where there's now like a final AH, there was still a T. So yeah, something like Kajat.
It made how much of the river in going towards Gaza?
You're very close. You're very close. There's one trick to it. So ether can be river, or it can also be a measure. The so-called, well, in Greek it's called a skoinos. I have no idea what we make out of it in English. Is it a skinos? There's one word that you may have encountered, which is that's a part in the south of Egypt, the so-called dodeca skoinos. It's a region, which is basically, what's dodeca again? 12, right? Not 20, but 12. 20 is Ikosa. Where are my Greeks when I need them? But in any case, it basically tells you how many skoinoi this area is long. It's basically a measure. I've heard or I've read that it is the length of a river that you can row without having to take a break. And I tried to look it up. The number I found in several articles is 10.5 kilometers. I'm just going to run with it. But ancient measures are always a problem. I'm not sure if that whole river rowing, whatever story is true or not. 10 kilometers? Maybe. I mean, depends on whether going up or downstream. So in any case, it's a measure. So think of it more or less like 10 kilometers as koinos. And I think you had it otherwise, though. You had how many skoinoi does it make in going to Gaza? So basically, how far is it? And that's exactly what it is. Now I have to look this up. Dodekaskoinos. That's the other direction, though. Italian. Okay. There we go. Down here. That area, like further in the south. That's the so-called Dodekaskoinos. Has nothing to do with Gaza, of course, which would be someplace completely different. Okie doke, very well done. So that's word. So word just means how many. Yeah, and apart from that, I don't have much more to say about it either. Apart from that, I really struggled finding sentences with word in it. What else? This one is very easy to find. We had Chenu before, where. Important thing to remember that if it's with a noun, you normally put the, which pronoun is it? The subject pronoun first, and then you repeat the noun. So yeah, anybody want to take the next two? Or the next one? Either is fine.
I can take it.
All right.
Suchenu pai ek eat. So he is where, your father? Where is your father?
Perfect. Exactly. Whatever Anakin Skywalker has to say to that, yes. What else? Okay. So yeah, it just replaces the place word again. It's behaving like a normal adverbial adjunct. How about the next one? Can you take us for that one?
I can take it.
All right.
So Iuek Chenu. So where are you going? Or where to are you going?
That's exactly it. Where to are you? In other words, where are you going? Yeah. That's it. So Chenu can be both where and, well, I guess with in front of it can be to where. I wonder if it can also mean whence, like from where. I think so. I think it's comparatively flexible, but I don't have an example sentence for that. But no, well done. So that's Chenu. In Coptic, it becomes torn with a omega in there. So still being used in the meaning of where. All right, this one is more rare. Nevers says it's rare. There is one text that has a ton of it, namely Papyrus Anastasi. Oh, kill me, which number? I forgot which one. It's called a satirical letter. It's basically one scribe chewing another one out. It starts friendly enough with like a traditional long-winded, very elaborate greeting, but then it goes into all these things where basically he says, well, you know nothing. Essentially, you don't know what this is. You don't know how that is done. Can you do the following calculation? No, you cannot. I haven't read the whole thing, only the beginning, but I do know from some examples that the word each is being used a lot in it, which, so yeah, I have an example sentence here. If anybody wants to take it, take a crack at it.
Okay, I can try. So heper pa metchen en Akshaf, Tenu,
Mhm.
oh, Chenu. Then we have air, each, demit.
Right.
Oh, I know the last word is Tanis because of Wenamoon.
Is it though? It's Time.
Oh,
Uh,
oh yeah, Demit. Sorry.
mhm. You're thinking of Janit, which is yeah, which is tennis. But that one has a
Yeah.
J at the beginning.
Eh, okay. Okay, so I'm gonna need some help with the translation here.
Mhm.
So made or create the way
Mhm.
of Akshaf.
Mhm.
So and it says where, but I feel like it's who made the way of Akshaf.
You'd think, but Chope or Cheper can simply be to be.
Yeah. To be, okay.
Uh-huh.
So where is the way to Akshaf?
That's correct.
Uh,
Mhm.
Then yeah, so the mouth, because we have the line there.
Yeah, that's a really tricky one. I should have looked
Yeah.
before the before the call. I did. My bad. Because there was a
Okay.
footnote on it and I didn't look it up. Oops.
Okay.
It could just be the preposition L. Sometimes it's spelled with a double mouth, especially when you have like a plural pronoun following, like for example, Iran, to us. It's very often spelled like RR and then the little stroke, and then like N and the plural lines like towards us. In this case, there is no pronoun following, so I'm not quite sure why they have to
Okay.
be spelling. Mhm.
So then I'm just gonna say it's the preposition. So to which city?
That's right.
No, to which, yeah.
I think it would be towards which city because from doesn't really make any sense. But
Yeah.
after
Towards which city?
go ahead, sorry. Hmm?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say towards which city because normally I'm just doing I call it the dumb translation where I have like everything word for word and then afterwards I'm like, okay, this is what it is.
And I
So
think
yeah,
it's
towards which city makes more sense.
right. I would have to look up the whole context, but I do know it's in a section where basically he's asking his counterpart all sorts of geographical questions. And that was one of them. Akshaf is mentioned in the Bible. Not a Bible scholar, but it came up very easily. It's mentioned a few times, so that seems to be the place. He is still spelled with a poo, not an F sound. I'm assuming that tells you something about the phonetics at that time, or whenever the spelling was codified. Another little trick in here would be easy to confuse the Chenu in Mechen with the Tenu where. Maybe that is even like association on their part because way and where kind of seems associated mentally, but it's a different word. It's Mechen way becomes Moit in Coptic, still around. Epmoit. Yeah. So where's the way I guess we would say to Akshaf in English, from which no to which city? That's what I would think. So yeah, there's the word each, which with a really peculiar spelling. I'm not quite sure why you spell it that way.
Is the word for way different if for ways inside of Egypt? Or
Mm,
just the terminative for the stranger weapon or foreign?
good question.
I
Mhm.
know there's more than one word for way, but I've never actually looked at when they use Mechenu and the other one, the what,
Right.
correctly.
Let's see. That's an interesting question. So Mechen, another spelling here. Um, let's see. Only one example. That doesn't tell you a lot. That is way too little to say anything about.
I know the word Mädchen shows up in the Amduat, or the
Cool.
so that still doesn't say much, but I know it shows up there. So it's not used only for Egypt, I would say.
Interesting. Interesting. You know, I have no insights in that. Who opens the road? I mean, it's tricky, right? If you're not a native speaker, and if this was 2,000 years after the fact, like the difference between road, street, way, that they all have their very particular fields of meaning, especially way, but road, street, way, path, getting that separated properly after the fact is going to be tricky because there's so much overlap. Interesting question. I wish I knew. Okay, but that concludes the part on the question words. We're doing really well on time. Well, if there are no questions about these, then I would say let's switch to the last topic, which is converters. Why converters? So I would assume that comes from Polotsky in his analysis of Coptic, where you have certain words which you can use, tag them onto all sorts of tenses in Coptic, like the relative converter to make a sentence a relative sentence, or for example, ne for the imperfect, or e for the circumstantial, where you can basically take all sorts of phrases and make them not necessarily subordinate. I was going to say subordinate sentences, but that's not true for the imperfect. So basically, but they don't live in the normal paradigm of all the different tense markers, and they do get converters. I'm a bit hazy on that, why exactly that terminology was chosen, and still trying to understand how much sense it makes. But for today, I'll just run with it. That's the way that Neveu has them. And he lists 4 in total. He lists EU, the circumstantial. That's actually his second. I put it first. He lists one for the past. He lists anti for, oops, sorry, the dangers of copy and paste. That, of course, is anti. There we go. Anti for the relative, for many relative sentences. And then when he calls a nominalizer. I'll say something about that in a moment. This guy you've seen a lot already, the circumstantial. This becomes a in Coptic. It's used in pretty much every sentence to give you some kind of something that happens while something else is happening, hence the name. So, for example, Su Mseni, he is passing by. So that's a normal adverbial sentence. And now if I stick a U in front of it, because if I take, then I have to first of all replace the Su by an F. So it becomes UF Mseni, as he is passing by. And the sentence from the verb, basically, it would be EU, they are. The cher is not visible, but let's assume it's there. O cher ash, they are calling out. En pachati a newt, to the mayor, or like the, what is it? Chatia, is that, that's not prince, what is that?
The governor.
Yeah, governor.
Thank you. Governor.
Governor is good. It's the governor of the city, I guess we would say the mayor, but yeah. They're calling out to the governor of the city, Seni, as he is passing by. So it gives you something that's happening at the same time. Is this here also circumstantial? Let's park this thought for a moment, because I have a page on that. Okay, I would say not all use are circumstantials. This one clearly is. What you can also do with them is you can make an equivalent of a relative sentence. Anybody want to try this one? It starts with, I clipped it. It starts with, he saw a, namely he saw whatever this is.
Yeah, I'll go.
Please go ahead.
So we have why. Blow it up a little bit. That'll weak me. Yeah. So we have why me chesson. UF imsa. Oh, same sentence. Oh, it's been converted. So the first one is that a dog?
That's right. He saw a dog, correct?
Dog. And then we have UF imsa after. I'm just trying to blow it up here. It's hard for me to see it. I'm sorry. There we go. So we have he after the dog, and he after. Wait a minute. I see the suffix pronoun, imsa, compound preposition. He is as in the capacity of a big dog. A big dog. He is as a
Not
dog.
quite. Too complicated. It's simpler. Imagine, where do we start? What does emsa mean?
After or behind?
That's right. Emsa is just behind. Behind wa and sa a. Or you would also
A
say
big dog.
Oh,
I'm sorry, some man there. Sorry. I'm thinking about chess. Excuse me. Yes. So we have sat. Yeah. So that's not a great man, but like an old man.
That's right. Exactly. That's right.
Man.
After an elder man, and so it's not just
man.
after an elder man, but it's uf emsa wa and sa a.
He's after an old man. Okay.
I hope I didn't mess that sentence up. Well, while you puzzle it out, I'll take a quick look just to make sure. I think I have that right.
He was behind a old man. He was after or following an old man. Okay, I guess that makes sense.
That's exactly it. So he was, and I was just thinking, was there really no verb in there? Let me take a quick look at that.
And that's why I was kind of stuck for a minute.
And I see what trips you up there, because now I look at it, it looks a little bit uncharacteristic. Let's see. I'm just looking and trying to find the passage quickly enough.
Position.
Oh, you know what? Keep it simple. I should have the book open here somewhere. There you go. Easy enough. Chisholm is probably the easiest way to find it. Nope, that doesn't work. Nope. That's not it. Here we go. So it is from the Doom Prince. Uf het gemich wa in Chisholm. Yeah. Uf emsa wa in sa'a. So followed behind an older man, and then it actually goes on. It also qualifies the older man. Uf hersheme het meet. So this is interesting. Why? So this one here is basically, in English, you could say a dog that was following. So here you're using the circumstantial the same way that we would use a relative pronoun. Literally, it says he glimpsed at a dog, and he, namely the dog, the F refers to Chisholm, was behind an older man, and he was, in this case, the older man, or maybe the dog, I mean, since one is behind the other, walking on the road. So in both cases, we would use who in English or which, and you can do it more elegantly, and well, not just more elegantly. I think it is tied to the fact that the Chisholm is undefined. It's not the dog, but a dog. And I think that's also true for the older man. It's an older man, not the older man. And I don't think you can use anti here, but you use the, actually he says it here. Am I just making it up when he says it here? Relative clauses incorporating a participle, a relative form, anti, or eowenef require a defined antecedent. In other words, the dog, the man. When the antecedent is undefined, Egyptian replaces the relative clause with an adverbial clause, which is exactly what we have here. A man, a dog, so it needs a U. Kind of cool, huh? There's still a similar rule in Coptic, I believe, where you use the circumstantial in very similar circumstances. And if you want to see more, there is more in chapter 32. So well done. That was that one. And let me go back to that example real quick. I said a moment ago that Coptic moid was Mädchen. Now I really wonder if this is true, because there's an N missing, and this puppy just looks so similar. But I know that Czerny in his etymology has Mädchen linked to moid. I'm not sure how that works, honestly, or how those words are linked, if at all. No idea. Sorry, I have to take a rain check on that. But I just realized it. So take what I said about Mädchen before with a grain of salt. I may be wrong on that, but if I am, then I'm good company. All right, well done. So that's how you can also use the circumstantial as well to fill in for a relative when it is an undefined noun that you're trying to qualify. The sentence by itself would be su emsa. He was behind, but then as a circumstantial, it becomes uf emsa. So far, so good? If yes, then I would say, all right. Thank you. Was looking for a thumbs up there. Another one is when for the past. What that basically does is, say you have Su em nasut, he is in the tombs. How would you make that a past tense? Well, that would be wenef em nasut. So you just basically put the when in there. You can do a whole things of when with when, a whole lot of things. You can also put it in front of a future 3, and then it becomes more like a conditional, if I'm not mistaken. So there are a few interesting things you can do with it. But basically, yeah, that's another converter, so-called past converter. It can also have like a pluperfect kind of meaning. Like this is actually the sentence that this is coming from is, I heard that he had been in the tombs. So there's like a past tense there before. I heard, and then this here happened even before that, because from the perspective of the speaker who's telling the story, this was something that was already past when he heard that thing. So kind of interesting. But yeah, we're going to get there. Just wanted to point this one out real quick. Then enti, the relative converter for any defined nouns. So for example, nouns or, yeah, 20 defined nouns. Took im, you are in it. And we had the sentence the other day. Pai secher. Wow, what did I do here? Did I miss something? Nope. I think I messed this one up. Sorry, I missed the took. That's a sentence we had the other week. Let me fix this real quick. Now it makes sense. So took him off would be you are in it, just an adverbial sentence with that funky spelling for im with an extra m, like Dynasty 20, and that's where you see that a lot. Paisecha enti took him off, the state that you are in it. I love Egyptian relative sentences because you really don't have to to restructure anything, you just put NT in there. Still works the same way in Coptic. So much more elegant than what we have to do in some other modern languages. So the state, or this state that you are in it, why do you use the NT here? Because it is this state, so it's a defined noun. So you don't use the circumstantial construction, but you use the NT pronoun. And this is, or not pronoun converter. And this is all over the place. We've seen it many times already. It's familiar for Middle Egyptian too, but yeah, wanted to list it here. And finally, this thing. So ET had asked, I think last week in another session, if there's still if when is still around with double N, it is in a very restricted usage pattern. He calls it a nominalizer. Here's an example. Taisha'at esperi Iraq. If you had a khur in between, it would be Taisha'at khur esperi Iraq. My letter reaches you. When you put the wanan in front of it, wanan Taisha'at esperi Iraq, as soon as my letter reaches you, ek di kharik, and you will pay attention to. This is a idiomatic expression, and this is a future three. And that's how it normally works. You have the wanan part in the front, and you have a future three at the back. And the way this construction is used is to basically indicate as soon as A happens, B should follow. So when this and this happens, when my letter reaches you, you will be doing X. You see there a lot in letters, late Ramesside letters. You will be sending me this. You will be paying attention to this. You will be doing blah blah blah. It's essentially a command, but it's structured like this. So when A, then B. There is another function that Neveu has for wanan, which is the fact that wanan something something something. The fact that the gold was not delivered, and I think that's why he's probably calling it a nominalizer. I'm not completely sure. I'm thinking of this more as some sort of, well, it's not really a condition. It's sort of like a conditional, right? Well, or maybe just remember it as a fixed construction. When in the first half of the sentence and future three in the second half of the sentence is sort of like an if-then or as soon as then. And that's it. They will all make their reappearance many times. Maybe one last thing I wanted to point out, direct quote from the book. EU, there are multiple. There is an EU of the third future, namely EU of Ersegem, he will hear. And this is basically an independent sentence. This can be starting a section. So that's an independent EU, an initial form, as he would put it. And why that's important? Well, it's important because often the R is missing. So you just have U of Segem, and you're not completely sure what it is. But certain elements, converters, can only take initial forms after them. And then you know, basically, if you see U of Segem after NT, for example, you know that this is going to be a future three and not a first present, basically. So that's kind of a helpful rule to know. Then there's the U of Chersegem. He, upon hearing, he's hearing, in other words, or as he is hearing, the sequential. We had that a lot in past tense narration. What's special about this one? Basically, it's non-independent. You have a whole sequence of these. There's another verb form that starts the sentence. As could be, for example, like one of the contingent forms, acha, and when, in, and whatnot. But then it goes on. Go ahead, sorry, Chris.
So this is for this. This is 2 and 1, right? So he's doing the one UF Her Segem and UF Her Them Segem. This
right. Just with the negation in there. That's okay. Right. So this one you see a lot in like narration, past tense narration. And he did this, and he did this, and he did that. This one is non-independent. It's not sentence initial, but it's not subordinate in the sense of it is not saying because something happened while something, like in the circumstantial is subordinate. if you think about it like logically. It's telling you in addition to the main action. I have to be honest, I find these distinctions kind of arbitrary, to be honest. Not arbitrary, but I mean, I'm guessing for an Egyptian, it would just have been EUF or F in all of them. Can I think of a good example in English? Yeah, I have one. If you think about, for example, to do, I didn't go. In this case, didn't is basically a negation marker for the past tense. Has nothing to do with the verb do anymore. If you want to say I did go, now it's emphatic. It's basically to emphasize the fact that I went. So again, it's not really about doing anything. It's more to emphasize the veracity of my statement. And if you say I did my homework, then it's really the word to do. So what I'm basically trying to say is, if you analyze them grammatically, one is a past tense negation marker, one is an emphatic auxiliary or something, and the last one would be a full verb. So I'm thinking if you had asked an Egyptian, they probably would have said, well, it's just you. You just use it. But in any case, if you want to analyze them grammatically, there is the third future, which is an initial form. There is the sequential, which is a non-initial but not subordinate form. And then there's the circumstantial that we just talked about, which is that usage where you basically add some additional information to the sentence, sort of like a subordinate piece of information while something else happened, somebody who was doing something, etc. That only becomes important because it influences the translation after certain other elements like ben, when, nt, etc. This one here, I have to admit, I don't even know what that is. Need to look it up. He has a reference to it, but I'm not going to worry about it for the moment. All right. Long monologue. Any questions on this?
Kind of go back. How will we negate the third future? Would it be Ben EUF at a sejum, or?
How do we negate the third future? Wait, didn't we just have that?
That's why I was trying to. There it is. Yep.
So you just stick it in front of the EUF.
Yeah, Ben EUF.
You can do that because UFL, the third future, is an initial form. So you can stick that button in front of it. While in the normal, in the first present, UE had sejum, it has to be you ben. I'm sorry. The U stays in front, ben goes after. So that's really an interesting difference here. I think that's why Neveu stresses it that much, because they're being treated differently in terms of construction. And I wish I could say that this has become second nature. No, it hasn't. Working on it. So this should be Yui Ben Tui Chad Sejum, I guess. The Chad goes in between here. Yeah. All right. No, good question. I would say with this, we have officially closed out chapter 11, and we have officially closed out the morphology section. So congratulations. We're done with the first part with Neveu. It only took a year. Okay, technically 11 months. So no, great job. And I think next is
any problem sets?
Go ahead.
Any problem sets? Are you gonna put together any kind of problem sets?
Yeah, I had promised a set of homework last time, and I didn't get to it with business trip and stuff. Yes, I'll send a problem set for next time. Honestly, I'm thinking probably again from Wernemund, where we left off the last time. I think there's some question sentences and stuff like that in there that could actually fit to what we covered. But I need to take a look at it. But that would be fun, I think, if we did that.
Yeah, I think generally Wenamun is the story that gets taught when you learn late Egyptian in university, simply because it has every single grammatical rule that exists.
I think that's true. Yes.
Yeah.
It's the Sinaway of Middle Egyptian, huh?
Yeah, it's the Sinua.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Plus, it's a great story. I mean, unfortunately, it's incomplete, but it's still a great story, even though we only have like the first 1.5 pages. So yeah, I think I'll probably just take Wenamon. And then, well, honestly, chapter 12 is just all sorts of concepts, which I think is interesting. Guys, take a look and let me know how we want to deal with this. I'm not sure we have to like stick slavishly to the book. I did this for a while now because, hey, it's the first time I'm working through it, and so didn't quite know what to expect, honestly, and trying to stay somewhat safe by following the structure. If doing it a second time, I'd probably rearrange things a lot, just because sometimes you go into a lot of details on some things that really only become relevant later. So I don't know. Take a look at chapter 12 and let me know in the chat what you think. Then basically from chapter 13 onwards, it goes again by grammatical features. And that would be another good question. How do we want to tackle those? Because now the sentences come in droves. There are like a ton of example sentences in each chapter. If we want to do them all, well, it depends on the chapter. 14 is short, but then some others are really long. I'm not sure we need to do all of them. So in my mind, maybe we do a few, or maybe we do it more like go over them and point out questions, open to all sorts of ideas. Could be something
I
to pick
mean,
up.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
If there's a sentence in the chapter that is relatively hard to decipher, or it's like one of those not so easy to decipher cases, we could definitely do that in class. So the very easy ones, we can just read them. And if anyone has a question, we could look at it. But I think if it's one of those sentences that are like massive and is very unclear, we could definitely talk about that, since that's a good way to go about learning.
I like that. What do you guys think? Like split it up and do the tricky ones in the session? Just vertel dus meer mensen, I'm a minute late. Give me a moment. Any feedback?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Sounds good.
All right. Then why don't we do it that way? We'll become okay. Because yeah, if we do each and every sentence, we're going to be on this in 2031, and I'm not sure that's the greatest use of this time. It's taking longer than I thought. On the other hand, I don't know. I learned a ton of Late Egyptian in the process, so I hope that's a shared experience. If you really dive into it, you pick up a lot of nuances that otherwise are, when just translating, are easily missed. So I kind of enjoy that. All right. Well, then, yeah, set of homework is next. Take a look at chapter 12. Next, in 2 weeks, then would be homework and discussion of 12. And then we can see how we want to go over 13, basically. So we have a bit of time to figure that out. Thanks very much for those in the US. Happy Thanksgiving next week. Hope to see you for Ramses nonetheless. Let me know if that's not the case. Ramses, sorry, for Horace and Seth. And yeah, have a great weekend.
Thank
You
you.
too. Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.